keyboard input. What a big pivotal lesson we're on here. Remember when we couldn't even animate things and how simple that was? Well, this is pretty simple too. This is one of the last pieces that you need in order to make a game, an interactive experience for the user. You know, because when you play a game, typically the user is either going to use the keyboard or the mouse, and we need to learn how that works. So the key here, no pun intended, is this new function that we have in our toolbox called key down. Okay. I want you to pause this video if you haven't done this already. I want you to read through Bubble 2 and make a prediction yourself before I give it away. Okay, go ahead and pause the video right now. Now, presumably, you just read through this, you typed in a prediction, and then you hit run to see if it did exactly what you thought. Okay? Now watch what's happening here. Okay, we've got a background, we got some properties of the text, and we've got this text. What is the text that it's going to print goes in the first parameter, right? Remember that when we do in the drawing menu, find text, the first argument is the string that it spits out. Well, we didn't put a string in here. We put a call to this function, key down, and then that should display at the middle of the screen. So as long as I hold key down, it's displaying true. But if I don't have the key down on spacebar, it's displaying false. So this kind of gives us a clue that key down is a function that kind of works like a Boolean expression, right? If this key down thing is happening, if the spacebar is down, then the key down function actually returns true. Okay. Now, for those of you data type nerds out there, you should note that key down does not return a string. It returns a Boolean, true or false. But JavaScript likes to try to fix things for us if they're not exactly perfect. So even though text is expecting a string right here, you can put a Boolean in there and JavaScript will convert that Boolean to the matching string. Okay, so right now, key down is returning the Boolean false, but the text function is converting that Boolean into the string false. That's neither here nor there. The point is, key down is a function that either returns true or false. Also note that key down only runs once per call. Key down doesn't run constantly and wait for key presses. We had to put it inside of the draw loop. So what's really happening here right now is that JavaScript is checking to see if the space key is down 30 times a second. And as soon as I push it again, then it says true, because it keeps checking 30 times a second. And this will go on forever because it's in the draw loop. Okay, so that's the basics of key down. Then in the next one, we see how we can actually use that paired together with a conditional statement from our last lesson to get all sorts of key detection going on in our program. Okay, so again, have to put these in the draw loop. So every frame of this animation, it's checking, is the user pressing the H key? Is the user pressing the P key? Is the user pressing the R key? Okay, and I haven't even read the directions here, but I'm assuming they're expecting me to do something similar to up here, and R stands for rabbit, and then I run it, and if I hold down R, it switches to rabbit. Now notice when I let go, it stays the rabbit, because right now all of these are false. I'm not touching anything. H key isn't down, P key isn't down, R key isn't down. It's checking, checking, checking. The moment I hit one of those keys, well then suddenly that condition will be true and it'll switch into that path in the program. So like if I hit the P key, then suddenly key down P will be true and it'll switch to a pig. Okay. We can do the same for the H, the P, and it'll just keep going wherever I want it to go. Okay. I hope this makes sense. It's pretty simple once you understand what's going on under the hood. Okay. Now, based on keys being pressed, you can change all sorts of things. Like a lot of you are going to want to make games with movement, like they want to make your characters move, okay? And that's the sort of thing you can do using this. So I'll give you a little preview of that. If the key down is R, then make the sprite into a rabbit, and let's say sprite X equals, we're going to use the counter pattern here. Remember the counter pattern? Super, super important. So now as soon as I hold down R, it's going to switch to a rabbit and move to the right. Until I let go, then it doesn't move, right? So see, I've put some movement into here. And this is how programmers in JavaScript, one way that they can make the ASDW keys work for the movement in a game. Okay, Code.org is going to step you through several practice exercises so that you can more fine-tune what's going on. Super, super, super good lesson. And here finally on Bubble 7 is where you get a chance to do what I just described, where you add key down conditionals so that the sprite will move in all directions. One side note that they don't really tell you in code.org, right? Right here in this challenge, they say, okay, put a conditional in here so that it'll move left when the left arrow is pressed. So you do like if key down left, that's how you do it in the code.org API, and then you're going to do whatever, sprite x equals sprite x minus 1. You can put multiple checks that do the same thing, okay? So maybe you also want it to respond to A, and then you want it to go left. You can just copy that same code right here. And then now you've got two conditionals checking for both possible keys to move the sprite left. Okay, so to make that more explicit here before I go, counter pattern so that it'll go left, and I'm saying you could code that in twice for two different keys, and that's perfectly valid. Okay, so now if I hit the left key, oh, sorry, the sprite isn't called sprite, it's called flyer. Pay attention, Stockinger. Didn't change them all. Still need to pay attention, Stockinger. There we go. So now I'm using the left key, left arrow, but the A key does the same thing. Good to go. That's how you do that. Have fun. This is a great lesson.